Mason Reed wasn't running from anything, or so he told himself. He just needed some quiet, a little time, a place with cheaper rent and fewer memories. That was all. After Allison left, the condo became a vacuum. Every sound echoed. Footsteps, microwave beeps. Even the goddamn fridge hum felt like it was making fun of him. She didn't take much when she left. A suitcase, some books, her favorite mug. But she took the air with her. The place didn't breathe right after that. They said the miscarriage wasn't anyone's fault. The doctor used words like chromosomal and random. But Allison had looked at Mason like he'd left the front door open in the middle of winter, and something important had slipped out into the snow. She never said the words, but he saw them in the quiet between them, in the way her shoulders turned inward when he entered a room, in the toothbrush that migrated to the far side of the sink. He started drinking again around that time. Not sloppy, not loud, just enough to blur the edges. He called it maintenance. 1 finger of bourbon to sleep, 2 if the day had teeth. Therapy came and went. 4 sessions. Then she stopped going. Then he stopped caring. When she finally packed a bag and went to her sister's in Vermont, she didn't slam the door. She didn't even cry. She just kissed him on the cheek like someone clocking out from a job they had hated for years. He never went back to therapy after that. He never really stopped drinking either. After that, he sold the condo, bought a beat-up Subaru, and headed north with no plan other than to find some goddamn silence. He found Harrows. The house was a rental listed under a defunct realty site. $800 a month, utilities included, out on the edge of town near a grove of pine trees that swayed like they had secrets. Mason didn't ask questions. He just signed the lease and moved in and unpacked his life into a space that smelled like old wallpaper and mice. He told people he was freelancing now. Copywriting gigs, marketing fluff, whatever paid. Mostly he watched the ceiling fan spin and tried to remember the last time he felt okay. Sleep came in fragments. He kept waking up at 3:17 a.m. Sharp. Every time. Like his brain was on a loop. Some mornings he'd find the TV on, tuned to static. Other mornings he'd be in the living room with no memory of getting there. Once he found the front door cracked open, just a sliver, like something had gone out or come in. He started writing things down to track it. Times, dreams, weird thoughts. Once he woke up from a dream of a crying baby that wouldn't stop, and when he checked the notepad beside his bed, he'd scrawled, "Don't look at the crib. It knows." He didn't remember writing that, or dreaming about any crib. And then there was the night on the balcony, back in Boston. He never told anyone about that. Woke up barefoot, standing on the railing, 10 stories up, looking out into the void. No memory of getting there, just a cold certainty that he'd been waiting for something to push him. The first one showed up on a Tuesday. It was stuck to the bathroom mirror. Bright yellow, just 2 words, all capital letters. Don't sleep. Mason stared at it with the toothbrush hanging out of his mouth. The handwriting was uneven, almost frantic, like someone had written it quickly and under stress. He peeled it off and crumpled it into the trash, probably old, left over from a grocery list or a joke. Maybe one of those post-it pad ads he'd mocked up for that startup last month. His memory wasn't exactly a steel trap these days. But still, there was something off about it. The handwriting looked familiar. Not his, but close. By Thursday, there were 6 more. 1 on the fridge, 1 stuck to his coffee mug, 2 on the inside of the front door, as if to catch him coming or going. All of them said things like, Stay awake. It's watching. Don't trust mirrors. He gathered them all and burned them in the sink, watching the edges curl into black petals. This time, he didn't smile. He started thinking more about Harrows after that, about the way the place had always felt a little sideways, like something behind the curtain was breathing just a bit too loud. He hadn't paid attention before, hadn't wanted to. But the notes changed that, made him look harder at the quiet around him. And when he did, he realized the silence wasn't peace. It was hiding something. Harrows, Maine, wasn't a bad place. Not exactly. It was also home to the Halperns. Mason first met Ethan on a cold Thursday afternoon, the kind that didn't feel like it belonged to any particular season. The boy was sitting cross-legged on the floor at the back of Halpern's books, sketching with a charcoal pencil onto a ripped piece of cardboard. Mason leaned over out of idle curiosity. "That's the old water tower," Mason said. "Looks good." Ethan didn't look up, just said flat and quiet, "It hums louder when people lie." Mason opened his mouth, then shut it again. Ethan kept drawing. That was the whole conversation. It didn't mean much at the time, but later when the wind scraped strange through the trees and the notes kept coming, Mason would think about that drawing and the boy who didn't blink when he spoke. Harrows had a diner, a library, 2 churches, and more antique stores than made sense. People nodded hello, but didn't ask questions. It's the kind of town that felt like it was waiting for something to end. Main Street had more charm if you squinted. The Bijou Theater had been shuttered since 1998, its marquee still advertising Twister. Halpern's Books was the only place open past 6 p.m., run by Deb Halpern, a chain-smoking librarian who knew everyone's secrets and pretended not to. Her shop smelled like burnt coffee, cedar, and old pages. And she always had the same sarcastic hello for Mason. "Back from more doom and gloom, Reed?" Followed by a cigarette dangling from her bottom lip as she rang him up. They talked more than Mason talked to anyone else in town. She asked real questions. Not the polite kind, the hard kind. About sleep, about drinking, about whether he felt things watching him at night. She didn't smirk when she said it either. "You're not crazy," she told him once, lighting a match off the spine of a hardcover. "You're just tuned in, like a dog before a thunderstorm. And around here, that's both a gift and a death sentence." She'd say stuff like that, then go right back to shelving books. That day, as Mason lingered near the counter flipping through a dog-eared paperback, Deb added, almost as an afterthought, "You got that same hollow-eyed look Henry Morin had back in the 70s. Nice guy. Didn't sleep much either." "Friend of yours?" Mason asked. "Customer, sort of. Came in every few days. Always asked if we had any books on lucid dreaming." She paused. "Last I heard, he walked out into Ashlock Grove and never came back." She didn't wait for more questions. She just turned on her heel and disappeared into the back, trailing smoke like punctuation. That night, Mason scribbled the name Henry Morin on the back of a receipt. 2 days later, he walked into the Harrows Public Library and asked where the old records were kept. At the edge of town, the Black House slouched on Hiller Road, its paint the color of ash and dusk. No one lived there. No one ever had, if you believed the locals. Even the kids wouldn't throw rocks at it. Weirder still were the little things. The water tower that whined at night, the graffiti that kept returning, "He comes when you sleep." The wind that picked up in Ashlock Grove even on dead still days. Mason heard things too, not loud, just whispers beneath the pine needles. leaves rustling like pages being turned in a book no one was reading. He told himself it was the adjustment. New town, new rhythms, old brain habits. But even he didn't quite buy it. Not when the same note reappeared on his mirror the next morning, unwrinkled and unburned. Just 2 words, same as before. Don't sleep. And under it, faint in small letters, it remembers you. The Harrows Public Library didn't look like a place where anything dark ever happened. It smelled like lemon cleaner and sun-bleached paperbacks. 2 stories, faux brick exterior, a little bell above the door that jingled with cheerful obligation. But the basement? That was different. The librarian on duty, an older man with a limp and a name tag that read Wallace, barely looked up when Mason asked about town records. Microfilm's downstairs. Old town ledgers are in the climate room. If the dehumidifier's still working, sign the book. Mason signed. The stairs creaked like they were clearing their throat. The lower floor had no windows. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like flies bumping against glass. The air felt filtered through lint. He found the town census logs first. Flipped past decades in reverse. 1990, 1980, 1970. There he was. Henry Morin. Age 29. Unmarried. Occupation, woodworker. Last listed address, Wyman Street, now condemned. Then he checked the local paper, the Harrows Gazette, September 1976. Missing, Henry Morin, 29. Last seen near Ashlock Grove. Authorities suspect accidental disappearance, possibly disoriented from known sleep disorder. He kept digging. Found a police note, yellowed and handwritten. Unstable, reported dreams of waking things in mirrors. Repeated complaints of night voices. Disappeared after claiming he hadn't slept in 6 days. Then farther back, 1951. Same column. Another disappearance. Agnes Vale, 42. Also tied to sleepwalking. Same location. Same language. Mason leaned back, the chair creaking beneath him. His fingers trembled. There were more names, every decade or so. Always one, always after sleeplessness. Always ending in silence. He turned another page and stared at it too long before realizing he was holding his breath. There scrawled in the margin in red pen. It only needs one. Just one. Asleep. He looked around. The room felt colder than before. Somewhere above, the bell on the front door jingled. Mason didn't move. He wasn't sure he was alone on the lower floor.